Hey everybody, Christina Stopke here of Christina Stopke RDN Virtual Nutrition Counseling, where I really help my clients feel better, essentially just with nutrition and some daily habits, while also kind of figuring out what's contributing to their symptoms. So today I'm going to continue on my path to talk about my 7-step gut restoration protocol. And last week we talked about step 3, and that was identifying and addressing sneaky food triggers, otherwise known as food sensitivities and intolerances. So if you're curious to learn more about that, you can go to my last video. And today we're going to talk about step 4 out of, again, the 7-step protocol that I use with clients. So step 4 essentially is identifying and addressing bad bugs in the digestive tract. And so this is super important not only to help address food sensitivities, it's at least one potential cause of food sensitivities, because we always want to understand why you're reacting to foods. But it's also extremely important because we're finding in the research, I know I've talked about this in previous videos, that so many different health conditions are connected to the gut. And when I say the gut, I'm really talking about our entire digestive tract, right? And also, a lot of the research is focused on the community of bacteria present in mostly our large intestine and colon. And so the cool thing about this step and functional medicine and nutrition testing is that we can actually gather a lot of clues about what's going on in your digestive tract to kind of help tell us about what might be contributing to whatever symptoms you're experiencing. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to have things like gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn to have an imbalance in your gut bacteria, is what I'll refer to it as. And so, the testing I wouldn't say is the most fun experience because it is a stool test. A lot of people get grossed out by that, and I totally get it. But it's the information that comes from it is, I obviously nerd out on this, is is really fun and interesting. And my clients see the data, they're like, "What? That's going on? Like, this makes sense," especially if it correlates with their symptoms. And so, so what do we actually find from this kind of testing? So essentially, it depends on the test that we use, and I use maybe 3 or 4 different tests, kind of depending on what I feel like the need is for the client. But we can see not only bacteria that are present, again, in the more large intestine and colon, both good and bad bacteria, but we can also see things like parasites and yeast and other types of fungi as well. And so all that information can, again, tell us like what's out of balance and how do we need to support this person accordingly. So we get that information. We can also see things like what certain kinds of bacteria are correlated to from like a health condition standpoint. So we can see if certain levels of bacteria in their gut are correlated to things like mental health concerns like depression or anxiety, or something like a predisposition to heart disease, or a metabolic concern like weight gain or weight loss, or even something like diabetes. And so we can just get so much information from this. And then another cool chunk of information we can get is how well is their digestion working? So how well are you, releasing digestive enzymes at your meals as one of the tools to break down your food? How efficiently are you releasing acid, stomach acid? How well are you releasing bile from your gallbladder? So all these factors can really determine, again, your symptoms, and can also affect the composition of all of those organisms in your digestive tract. So with this information, it's super helpful to come up with like a very tailored plan for the information that we get. And next week, I'm actually going to talk about how to actually rebalance the gut and use the information from the gut test to, again, get your gut in really good shape So we can not only reduce symptoms like digestive, very obvious digestive symptoms like the gas bloating, stuff like that I was referring to, but also help with other things like, for example, I can think of a client I saw her within the last couple of days, and one of the main things that we worked on was her gut health. So we identified some bad bugs. We also worked on the foundations and did all the steps. But we really we helped get rid of the bad bugs, replenish the gut with good bacteria, and help heal the lining of the digestive tract. Which again, I'll talk about more details next time. But it was awesome because really just focusing on that, and then also some nutrients she was deficient in, likely from her digestion being a little off. Things like her hormonal imbalance is significantly improved since when we first started together. Also, blood sugar. So she was kind of having these really extreme highs and lows. You get super shaky and just feel horrible. That's pretty much resolved. I mean, it's still present, but much, much less. So things like that can improve just with largely focusing on the gut. It can be super powerful. So as always, if you found this interesting or helpful, a like, comment, or share, I'd really appreciate. Share it with someone that is interested about gut health, has maybe heard about it, or just has some symptoms that don't feel good and they want to figure them out. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. See you next time.